Hi, it is our Raw Material Conflict Week. I am Tavish Cardiff here to talk about what is pressing on you right now. In Kansas City, a lot of conflict in the air as the Kansas City Chiefs are headed to the Super Bowl. We have conflict within the team, players that aren't able to play, questionable, worried about injuries, all the usual end of season and postseason conflict issues, getting right into the heart of it. The game itself is a conflict. The way that we set up fans, conflict. The way that we each root for our own team or our own city or our own school, conflict. But it's the kind of conflict that moves us and brings things together. I was thinking the other day about our sports teams, high schools against high school, and then the district itself as a whole against other districts, and then the state against the state, or the city against the city, the country against the country. This is how we set up conflict everywhere, neighbor against neighbor. So the basic types of conflict, self versus self, internal stuff, and then the external, you versus a group of people or you versus society. What I really want to speak to today is recognizing the difference between internal and external conflicts. The ones that we do inside of us are things that we can learn to breathe through. The things that tear us up from the inside out are our personal stuff to work with. That is our raw material. And that's exactly what this practice is named after. Conflict moves in our body and it takes up residence. So even though we think we've moved past something, if we haven't actually dealt with it, if we haven't taken breaths, let it go, rooted it, made sense of it, it is going to continue to trigger us occasionally when conditions happen that remind us of what our body feels like because those traumas are unresolved. I say trauma, and I hope that people don't immediately go to terrible things. Minor traumas, minor little things still create energetic debris and they build up and they find their place in our body. And if we don't have the space to breathe, they will come out at inopportune times. We've all seen ourselves react to something in a way that we weren't expecting to react. We're reacting to a buildup, not to an actual thing that happened. I think the phrase straw that broke the camel's back is a good conflict statement because generally one thing doesn't create a huge explosion. It is a series of things that affect our emotional state. And our emotional state is our own monitoring. So back to internal conflict. What we set ourselves up for, we can change. What we have with society, what we have with groups of people that might come at us in ways that we don't know how to handle, that's a different story. Conflicts that come from specifically within us, those are the ones we can deal with easily. Armed with our breath and armed with intention and curiosity, we can go figure these things out. We can root to the center of them, and we can give ourselves the nourishment that we needed and didn't get because now we're looking at it with more objectivity. It gives us the space to pause, breathe, understand what we felt at a different time in our lives, and really just offer the love that that part of ourselves needs, that heart acknowledgement that we didn't get. When we do that and we breathe, it moves through our body. If you've paid attention to any quotes that float around or read any old Eastern philosophy of any kind, you will find that breath leads most things. Yoga, prana, the breath, chi, the energy. These are the two things that we hold within this body that is actually an energetic space. So when we are holding judgments, energy, when we are holding transgressions, when we are holding traumas, when we are holding things that hurt us, our mind might have the opportunity to pay attention to something else, but our body is still holding it. So the ways that we work to clear our body and understand the things around us, understand our reactions to the things around us, then we start to see our own healing ability. We see real power in taking the entire space around us, clearing it out, breathing, and having that breath be able to travel from head to toe without hitting a lot of resistance. And then knowing where it does hit resistance, those are the spots we want to go back and figure out what's in there. I know I talk about my knee all the time, but this this left knee holds so much of the childhood trauma in my life. And I will go back to this knee over and over, and I'm sure remember tons of things that happened to me where I didn't stand my ground or I felt ungrounded or, any play on those types of words. But that is exactly what happened. My internal conflict kept me in a state of injury to my knee that kept me from doing the very things that I really, really thought I wanted to do. So being my own worst enemy because I wouldn't breathe all the way into my knee. Sounds simple, even sounds silly. But the reality is that we are looking even more to energy to understand what we do with conflict and how we handle conflict. And I think our intellectual methods have served us up to this point, but moving forward, we are a people that is looking more for mind-body connection, and we are looking more to understand that relationship. So conflict week is the second of the physical weeks. Ignorance, where we think that we know more than we do or should know more than we do. Conflict, where we actually find the space to make tough things happen, work, fight, and then grow. So conflict is the source of growth. And then the final physical week is wholeness. And it's the last one where we take all of these weeks, put everything together, and view ourselves in objective love and wholeness. Every piece of us being extremely valid, and even the parts that we judge, finding purpose for them, finding meaning, and understand why they are present in our lives to begin with. Just by asking from within, just by working out the conflicts that we feel. As a challenge for this week, I would like to ask everyone to consider what sort of conflict style you have. When you are arguing with someone or fighting with someone, what's your go-to? How do you present yourself? What's your physical posture like? What pumps up in you or what shrinks? What is ready for the fight and what part of you is backing off? And see how those two things are both probably operating in your body. Some part of you that's ready to go and another part of you that wants to run and hide. And start noticing, which one kind of gets the right of way and how you see yourself in conflict. Are you adept? Are you scared? Are you any number of emotions that conflict brings us? But just objectively take a look at yourself and see what you personally look like in conflict, even if it's I'm out the door before it ever happened. You see the door slamming on your way out. Knowing the way that we handle conflict helps us just see ourselves more objectively altogether. When we start to realize what types of conflicts we engage in or what we avoid, we really give ourselves a chance to know ourselves better and more deeply and understand the things that truly affect us. Not the ones that we shove out of our head and tell ourselves don't affect us, but look at what really is able to pass through us, what helps us grow, what sorts of conflicts we enjoy, football games, and what sorts of conflicts we shy away from. It's interesting to watch kids or animals deal with conflict because you can see the environment that they come from. You can see if they see healthy conflict or if conflict scares them. You can see a physical reaction when a conflict shows up in most people. We all have that poker face where we've learned to hide what we really feel, but there are tells. And if you know someone and if you watch someone observe conflict, you can't help but see that shadow of reaction just to see how present they're willing to be in conflict. I mean, some people are ready to fight at a moment's notice. When you really look at the energy of that, what is bubbling up in that body? What is it that's ready to go all the time? And what has that intellect told itself to believe that it needs to be in a position to fight? The way that we hold our style in conflict tells a lot about who we are and how we got there. Watch your kids. See how they respond to conflict. Watch your animals. Animals that came from shelters or came from homes that were mistreated, you will see the animal react instinctively in ways that show that they have been traumatized. people learn not to do that. And when we do, that conflict does exactly what I was just talking about, finds its way into the body. Being able to be aware and clear on a regular basis helps us handle all of the conflict that comes towards us rather than trying to avoid it. And instead of being afraid for it to come, knowing that it's going to, and just being prepared to handle it when it does, knowing that what might seem really hard and difficult and will be in a lot of instances winds up being the very thing that helps you grow, or that helps the people that you want to see growth in grow. We can't ask for things for other people as much as we can manifest for ourselves. But when we manifest for ourselves with the greater good in mind, we push conflicts that further growth. We push conflicts that might be uncomfortable, but ultimately move conversations, move actions to their next logical step. Keep things from being stuck. Conflict Week is all about unsticking the stuck. As we look at the conflicts around us that make us happy, I'm going to shout out one more time to the Chiefs and their hopeful success this weekend, and then I'm going to let it go. I'm going to look at the conflicts within my city. Everybody's got their cause, everybody's got their agenda. How do we work together for the greater good in conflict? Recognizing conflict as growth, as a necessary part of what we do, is the fastest way to clear our own bodies of the conflict that we've stored in there. Do yourself a favor. Take some deep breaths. Exhale some conflict. What else can you do with that space? Thank you for joining us. I will be back next week to talk about intention as we enter the final 4 weeks of this session's practice. Thanks.